Hello, today I'm building in Glimmerbrook. It is built on the lot Rockridge Canyon. It is a 40 by 30 lot. It is a family home for spellcasters. This home ends up having 7 bedrooms and like about 5 bathrooms. Some of them are half bathrooms, but on the gallery I just marked it as 5 bathrooms. It costs 168,000 simoleons, right around there, so it is a little bit pricey. There is a whole lot in it. The downstairs, I feel like, is pretty cluttered and decorated. The upstairs bedrooms are left a little bit, like, not as decorated, mostly so that you could just go in and update it to your family and their personalities, stuff like that. But I was inspired to do this home because I'd gotten a comment from somebody who was saying how they wish that they could use some of my witchy builds for their like spellcaster legacy family, and a lot of my builds don't really have a lot of bedrooms. I accidentally build usually like 1 bedroom homes all the time. It's just like when I naturally build, they're very tiny builds. And I have to put like a lot of effort into expanding a house to make it larger. And I haven't done a whole lot of like huge family homes. I like really don't know how many I have on my channel. I think maybe I have two, and those were also requests in the comments for like family homes. So when I do get like a suggestion, I try and build a home that could fit 8 Sims in, because that way you could, if you need to remove some bedrooms, and you could turn them into whatever you want. But I want to make sure that there's like enough space in it. And it's like it just so happened that I already had built this, and then when they replied to my comment, they're talking about how their like spellcaster family would be like doing gardening and stuff. And I made a whole back area that's like really pretty, that has like a farm area. It's not like huge, but I think that you could definitely move some stuff around to like expand it. Some of the towers I put some plant boxes in. That's what I've been doing like the past couple times I have towers, is just making it a place for gardening, because I really didn't know what to do. And I was originally going to leave all the towers empty so that it's like kind of like, oh, if you want a hobby item, you could throw it up in one of the towers. But instead, I decided to like put some objects into it. That won't be for a very long time, because this build is like 56 minutes long, so we're gonna be here for a while. It takes a lot. The exterior is like half of the video. I mean, it's a huge home, so of course it's going to take a lot of effort and time, which is also why this video is later than I usually upload. Like, I upload on Mondays, but I knew that was going to happen because last week I had to go in for jury duty, and that was really stressful. And I needed some time to like recover from it. And I couldn't even like think about editing or like anything like that. I couldn't even finish the build yet. So I was like, all right, I'm just going to take some time to myself. I'll come back to it. And I was like really trying to like push myself to find the motivation to finish the video. And I'm glad I did. I was just like watching like Dead by Daylight content while I finished editing. But you can see the shape of the build is now coming along. And every time I make a large home, I usually build the house and then I add like a wing off to the side like this. And that's how I managed to turn my smaller builds into something larger. Because you can see like the portion on the left is clearly the house I was building. And I was like, all right, now you need to add a wing off to the side, and it'll be like an L shaped with like a lot of different angles around. And I feel like it works really well. I think that's how I liked building my family homes anyways, having that sort of shape where it's like an L shape. I like that it's like built off to the side of the lot, and the backyard is more on the side and not behind the build. I like that. I also like every like side of the build and angle of it, like decoration wise. It took me a while to pick out like what I wanted the exterior, like windows and wallpaper to look like. You can see I started doing it with like a driveway or a pathway leading up, and I landscaped that first because I was like, I do not know what I'm doing. I know that I want to build a huge house on this lot. I don't know where I want the house to start, so I'm just going to start by building like this other landscape area and I'll like figure it out from there. I got a little like flustered just now because there was a long pause that I didn't cut out of the video of me just like staring at nothing, I guess. And so I didn't know what I was talking about. So I did the entryway. I have it up on a slope, which is usually how I like to do my train anyway. And then I have a big pond in the front to really just like take over a lot of the excess space on this lot because it's like surprisingly a lot of empty space for how large this house is. And like some of the bedrooms, it is 7 bedrooms, but some of them are pretty small, and I try to add a room in for every life stage. So there's like would be the parents' bedroom, and then there are 3 like bedrooms that could either be for kids or teenagers. There's one room that has 2 beds in it where they could like share a room. Then there's like a little nursery that has like a baby thing and also a toddler bed, and then there's another smaller room that has like the crib for the infant. So there's like different options for everything, but when your kids grow up, you could easily fit like more beds into the smaller bedrooms. It shouldn't be a problem. You could definitely fit more beds in the other bedrooms as well. But yeah, and the decoration's not like too overly decorated for the bedrooms. One, because I was really thinking about how long this video was, and I didn't finish the bedrooms until I already was editing everything. So I edited all the stuff that I already had, and it was already like 50 minutes. And I was like, oh boy, like this is gonna be a long one. I still have fears about how this video is gonna render. A while ago I had issues with like long videos not rendering. I think it should be okay. The problem is that I'm running out of space on my computer, so I'm gonna have to like go through and delete stuff. But I currently have like 5 builds in the works and they're all recorded, and so they're like huge files. I can never have this many builds in progress at one time for space purposes, but also because I like don't know what to focus on then. And then I had started this one on top of all of those other ones, but I'm like glad I did. I really enjoyed this build and I had a lot of fun doing it, and I felt like it was a good push out of my comfort zone and to like revisit trying to create like a much larger build. Like this build feels like 3 of mine in one pretty much. I also want to like go look through all of my speed builds, and I want to like break up them like into playlists like based on how many bedrooms they have so that like people can easily look and they could see like, oh, I want like a family home. Let's see how many there are and if I like any of them for my families and if they like fit what I'm like my story that I have right now. It's like, so I'm gonna end up doing that. It shouldn't take me too long. I feel like I have over 100 speed builds at this point. I must, because I've been building on YouTube for a year and a half about. It'll be like 2 years in December. I just went to go look because I was like, did I miss my 100th video? I have 92 videos. So my 100th will be um in like a couple of months, I guess. I don't know if I do anything special for 100 like videos. I'm not really sure. I wouldn't be able to think of anything, I don't think. Probably just be a normal speed builds, but I'll be like, this is my 100th video. And I do have plans to continue working on a Copperdale save file, which I've had to like pause because like I have so many builds I'm working on. I'm trying to get like the ones that are easy to finish done and then I'll feel a little bit better. Like I even had a Sims 2 speed build that is like done, but I don't want to upload it yet because I plan on uploading that the same day I upload my recreation of it in the Sims 4. So there'll be like the Sims 2 version and then the Sims 4 version as like 2 different videos, but like I uploaded on the same day. So it's still in preparation. But that will also be a Spellcaster family home. And I was thinking about that build while I was doing this one because I was like, oh, like I kind of used similar brick to what I used in the Sims 2. Um for that Spellcaster family home, except that one is going to be more like a townhouse thing because my Sims 2 family I built it for. It's like technically it would be 2 different households. It's like my sim living with her best friend. Like that's the story, and then like her mom lives there, and so I have like two different houses, but they're connected and they kind of look like just one large house. I'm excited to recreate it in The Sims 4 though. I just need to get some of my other builds done first before I take on a whole nother speed build. And while I'm building this one, and while I was like, oh, I almost pushed this to next week and almost just like gave myself a week break to work on this voiceover. And I was like, no, 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 I think I could do this. And then my plan was, oh, I could just build another house, like a tiny one for next week. It's like, Megan, you do not need to start a whole nother build video. And so I'm hoping that next week, I'm hoping I'll upload. It's not a guarantee because I've been really stressed out lately and like everything's been a lot harder to do. And I don't know if I can like commit to finishing one of my builds right now because the one that I would want to finish is for my friend's shell challenge. And I really don't want to rush it because she's going to tour them on her Twitch stream and stuff. And so I want to put like a good amount of effort into the interior and give her something like really nice to tour and not just something rushed just because I want to get a video out for the week. But that's the one that I want to finish next. And it's not due until next month. Literally, I think tours are on my birthday. And so I'm excited. If you aren't following Simly Sash on YouTube or Instagram or now Twitch, you should check her out. She's a really cool person and she's a really great builder as well. She makes like she is the Glimmerbrook builder. So if you like my witchy builds, I'm sure you will love hers too. But I'm sure now you can see just why like why this video is as long as it is. I'm literally on the landscaping or 11 minutes in and I'm not even like done with the landscaping or like the exterior. I was just really trying to figure out the vibe of it and where I wanted windows to be, and I didn't even like plan for like what kind of walls I want yet. And I was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna keep like adding on to this landscape and go from here. And I feel like it shouldn't be that much longer for the landscape. I really usually I just pick a handful of items that I like together. And the more I build every week, the more like I understand which items I like. Um, I feel like my landscaping uses the same things in every single build for the most part. I'll like occasionally throw in some different like items. Like I think these trees I've thrown in are trees that I don't really use very often, but they feel like very Glimmerbrook and they reminded me of Simley Sesh as well. And so I was like, all right, I'm gonna use these as well as those like larger Realm of Magic rocks, which I I used in yeah, I've been using those lately. Those are like my new go-to rocks to create height in my landscape, and I really like them. And I've like slept on them for so long until like I had seen someone using them, and I was like, I'm using those rocks, except they rotate them with tool and stuff, and I can't I can't use tool like that as much. Like I know how to rotate things, but it takes too much brain power for me, and I'm very much a like a flow builder. I like get into like I zone out, I get into the flow of the build and I don't really like to have to like think about anything, and tool mod requires a lot of thinking. And at one point, lowering rocks into the ground was something that took me a million years and took a lot of brain power, but I've been using tool like to lower things into the ground since I started my YouTube, which was a year and a half ago. And so over that and building every single week, I now am an expert. I wouldn't say that. I'm not an expert at tool. I'm an expert at lowering rocks into the ground. And even then, it still takes me a lot of tries to do. But at least now I'm like, I know how to select everything in one go and lower them all together. If you ask me right now what key is, is what does that, I don't know because it's all muscle memory. And it's the same with like my intro video where, you know, like the camera moves around in like the tour of the builds. I don't even know how to like set that up without just doing it. And someone asked me for their own videos how I did that, and I had to like Google it because I was like, I don't know. Like, no, I couldn't even Google it because I didn't even know what to Google at that point. So I had to open my game and I had to just do it. And then I had to pay attention to what I was doing so I could give my own detailed instructions because I didn't even know what it's called. But that's usually how The Sims works anyway. But yeah, you can see that the landscape is coming along now. I have that small pond out in the front and different sorts of layers in the terrain just to, I don't know, make it look pretty. That's the whole purpose of it. I have two different fountains around. It's like the same fountain, just placed in different elevations of the lot. There's a porch that I end up putting just like a chair and a table on. And then this area is where the like farming garden is going to be. My dogs are barking and it distracts me too much from thinking. So I had to like pause for a second. But as I was doing this build, there is a lot of me having to kind of like change around some of the shape of the build. I believe when I start doing the floor plan, I also have to change some walls. And there is a point in the build where I moved some of the footage around. So I didn't finish the entire exterior until I had already done the floor plan and some of the interior. And I wanted to kind of keep the build in like a cohesive like timeline. So you might see some like differences in the builds coming up. I don't know when it happens, but I there might be like changes in the shape because I had done it after. I don't know what I'm saying, but just know that I kind of like do the backyard area, or I guess the side yard area, after I do a whole bunch of other stuff and then I just move the footage around, which confused me when I was doing it. And I'm sure no one would even notice anyway, but for me, I'm like, you need to tell people, they're going to be confused, and it's like I'm sure people aren't going to notice that. I also almost cut out like the entire floor plan of this build because of how long the video was going to be. But I do see a lot of speed builds that are like very long. Like I see people speed builds that are like over 50 minutes, sometimes like an hour. And I'm like, I can do that. Like if people get bored, they're just not gonna watch. And if people like it, then it's just like a little treat for them because they get like double the speed build kind of in one video. And for people who don't have the attention span for that, they can just pause it and come back to it. And so it's like, it's fine. I wanted to keep the floor plan in because I felt like, because I don't usually do family homes, I thought it would be nice to kind of keep the footage in so you could kind of like see my thought process. And you could see that I started with the upstairs for the bedrooms because I wanted to see how many bedrooms I could fit upstairs and if I needed to add more downstairs. That was the whole point of me doing that first. And at first, I did think I was going to have to put some downstairs, but I feel like I was getting so confused. I was like, I don't know. Like, do I? Then I was like, but that's kind of weird to have it so split up. And I couldn't like figure out where I would want the stairs to lead from the other bedrooms to the bedrooms upstairs. So I ended up being able to keep it so all the bedrooms are just upstairs. And I'm sure you noticed a pretty big jump in the video. I think this is the stuff I did after I had done some more of the interior, maybe. I'm not sure. But yeah, you can see I'm using these like bricks from, I'm assuming they're get together because they have the like timber on them. And that's what reminds me of what my Sims 2 Spellcaster build is going to be, and eventually my Sims 4 recreation of it, which I'm not sure when those videos are going to be out. It'll be out eventually. I don't know, but um I do feel like the shape of this build is pretty interesting, and that's why I like it from every single side. Like the back, there's at least like different points that stick out and it's not just flat. I really like that. And you can see now I'm adding towers. I feel like you can't, I don't know, sometimes you can't have a build without some towers. And I wanted to make sure I had some in here because I thought that's what would make the build feel like me. Before this, I wasn't getting the vibe that much. But as soon as I started adding towers, I was starting to really like it and it was giving me that sort of witchy feel that I was after because right now it kind of just looks like just like a, I don't know, well, not a cottage, a manor. I'm not sure what you would call this sort of build. I'd assume so. But I have these two towers here. I end up moving the one. Yeah, you could see I moved this one over because I was like, the balance is off. And I was like, I need the composition to be better. And so I just like move it over. I had done that earlier too with like the like wing that is sticking out. I had to like move some of it over because I felt like it would look a better like one tile over, which sometimes isn't really worth the effort. And now that I'm looking at it, I do like that very tiny tower I just had over there, but for some reason I changed it and I just have that weird roof sticking up instead. I kind of liked the little baby tower. I think it looked really cute. But at that point, I guess I didn't like it and I thought maybe it was like taking away too much, or maybe it was just like too much height in the build or something like that. I don't know what I think sometimes, but there's a lot of strange angles around the entire build, and I was really struggling with windows when I was doing this because also I didn't limit my packs for this, but I was thinking about like I'm like, oh, should I use this item? Like, is it gonna be worth it? Like that doorway with the like open door. I was like, this is from the industrial kit, and I feel like maybe not a lot of people have that. And if this like person who commented about the Spellcaster family home, if they don't have that pack, and I was like, I'm sure that people just renovate it to their liking for the stuff that they don't have. But I really tried for the exterior to like pay attention and like only use stuff that I really thought was like going to add to the build. So a lot of the windows are base game, and then I use get together windows as well. Like these big ones here get together. I also use the stained glass get together windows because I feel like those are pretty important. I'm like, okay, windows are important. I already used a lot of get together to begin with, so like that's not a problem. And the base game windows really match very well with the other windows. I really love base game windows, and I feel like I remember that every single time I'm building. So I'm like, oh my god, I'm like, all right, we have some good options. As long as the windows are the same color in the interior as they are on the exterior, it's all good. And I see that mailbox there. Don't worry, I delete it and then the mailbox spawns in front of the front door and then I fix it and I add. I think it was like the werewolves mailbox. And I don't know if the mailbox is functional. I try to put it in a spot where it looks functional. I haven't play tested this build yet. I'm hoping everything works. Um, it'll be uploaded on the gallery whenever I upload this. I don't need this video is just going to be uploaded when I finished the voiceover, I guess. I wasn't really sure if I would have an hour of yapping in me today, which I still am unsure about. We're like 22 minutes into the video, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on at this point, but I like the side area of the house. I don't know if we're going to be getting to the back garden yet, which I think is really pretty. And I do this like cute fence with half walls mixed in with like these like bush fence pieces, and I feel like it looks really natural and really pretty. And I was like, why don't I ever use half walls as fences in my builds? And I just use like a brick for it, so it's kind of like a brick wall fencing in the backyard area. And then I wanted to just break it up a little bit and make it a little bit more interesting. And so I use the like hedges fences. I think it's like alternating tiles is what I end up doing. And again, I'm using the same landscape that I used in the front and I just eye drop it around. It's easier than having to scroll through all the debug stuff, but also it really helps to keep the build cohesive. And so if you're like, if you don't like landscaping, I really recommend just like picking out like 5 items or something and just placing them all around. And it's usually like something that has flowers on it, a tree, a bush, and some grass, and then my mushrooms. Those are like my go-tos. Like it's just a mixture of all of those. Um, Usually the flower like aspect changes. The trees usually change, and that's like the only things that are different in my landscapings. But the grass, I always keep the same. I always do the white mushrooms and I size them up a little bit. So I guess those are like little pieces of me and my landscaping that I feel like I use in every single build that sort of stays the same, as well as like the large bush. I have so many bushes on this lot, so I'm sure that's like not very helpful, but there is a specific bush that I also use. It like looks very overgrown and like it hasn't really been maintained. And I always use that. I always use the cottage living grass pieces, mostly to outline pathways and maybe like make dirt paths look a little bit overgrown. But here's the wall that I was talking about. So there's the brick wall with the hedges in between. And I feel like it makes it look really like elegant in a way. And I just really like that. I think I add like a floral arch back here too. And I put in some monkey bars because I was like, oh, this is a family home. Maybe the kids need an area to play. But if you want to do like farming gameplay, I think there might be enough space to put like a chicken coop in, maybe even like a barn if you just move some stuff around. I don't think this entire place is fenced in completely. I think there is an open spot that I just closed off using plants. So the chickens and animals would like be able to move away from this area. If that's a problem, you'll have to actually fence it in, but I did not do that. I am really proud of this area though. Like this entire lot, I feel like it flows really well and everything feels like it's meant to be there and like everything just is cohesive, which I don't always think about builds, especially really large builds that are like usually difficult for me to do. But this feels like, I don't know, it just feels everything feels like it matches and I just couldn't figure out how to say that apparently, so I had to repeat myself like 5 different times. But yeah, I use that stone pathway and I've learned over the year, I guess, when you want to use terrain paint, you really need to tone it down with some dirt or else it's way too bright. So that's another thing that if you struggle with landscape and you struggle with terrain paint in general, using dirt over stone helps it to blend in way better, and so it's like you can use, like, a lower opacity for the dirt and just, like, do a little dusting of it, and it helps to blend it into the already existing, like, grass that's already there. Because sometimes you can't even, like because the stone itself, there's just different grass that goes with the stone, so you need to blend it in or else it's, like, a completely different shade of green for that. And I think we're gonna be getting into the interior pretty soon. Like, I'm just adding some grass to the roof. Because again, I was trying to make the build feel like mine. And that's just how I did it, was adding some more plants on the roof and just again, I'm just eye dropping stuff that I've already used in the landscape and just placing some chimneys around. I feel like maybe I add some more ivy in random places. I was considering going back in and adding some Discover University ivy around as well. So if this build looks slightly different on the gallery, it's because I decided to add a little bit more ivy around because again, I was like, this build is so long and like the upstairs bathrooms, I don't even show them in the video, but they're pretty boring. You don't need to see them anyway. I mean, you'll see them when I'm doing the bedrooms because I do them and then I do the bedrooms after. Yeah, they're just boring bathrooms. I did not put much effort into them. I put like just the toilet, the sink, the shower, some towels, that sort of thing. And I think now I'm doing the floor plan of the build and I'm adding some more windows into rooms that don't have windows yet. I also had to like adjust the roof a little bit because it was like poking in. And for the stairs, so you can see I have 2 different staircases here, and that's because I was thinking one of them might lead up to the bedrooms and down to more bedrooms. Because at this point, I was thinking that I needed more bedrooms still. And I was like, "Alright, so this part of the house might have bedrooms in it," and I wasn't completely sure, but I do not do that at all. So it's just this entire hallway is just, like, grand staircases. There's a bathroom in between them, and, like, a little couch and some, like, bookshelves ends up going there. Um, I, like, really struggle with hallways in The Sims. That's, like I don't know why hallways, it's so hard to just, like I don't know, I can never get it right, and it, like, takes me some time to think about, how I want them to be laid out, and if I have enough space in the rooms. So it definitely changes a little bit. Like right now, when I'm looking at me doing this, I'm like, Megan, what is this? Like, what were you thinking with that one? But I see the shape now coming along. So to the left, like the room all the way to the left, that ends up being a study room with a lot of books. I was going to put a desk in there and I forgot. So there's no desk in the study, but I put a desk somewhere else after. And then next to where the study is, there's like a tiny room that ends up being the magic cauldron room. And I was going to have it hidden like with like a bookcase door, but I was like, no, this is like a spellcaster home. So they're not hiding that they're spellcasters. And also, I thought it would be like a nice picture to have like an archway there. And it, like you walk into the house and you immediately like see the cauldron and all the herbs and like magical decorations down the hall. I felt like that was better than hiding away the cauldron in the builds. Um, I was going over the floor plan downstairs, but now we're upstairs. Okay. So then next to the cauldron room is going to end up being the living room where the TV is and like the couch and stuff. And I'll keep talking about it once I'm back downstairs again. I don't spend much time upstairs because I was just putting fences around. Then all the way to the right in the back right corner is the dining room in between this music room, and the dining room is going to be the kitchen. And that's kind of what I figured out for that. I just knew there were so many rooms down here. And I was like, I just need to start placing items in so I understand like what I'm going to make each of these rooms. I'm like, okay, cauldron here, piano in the other room. That'll be an entire music room. And like more like the, I guess, the formal living room space. And then I put some bookcases in there. I'm like, all right, this is going to be the study, which I forgot um the desk, but I put a desk and a computer in the music room. So it is okay. And like it was more like, oh, maybe there's a lot of magical tomes that they keep in their like home library, and it's like right next to where they make their potions and stuff. And I thought it would be nice to have this area with the L-shaped couch just like in the little nook. And I never really use the tiny living furniture, so I always like when I have like an excuse to use like items from a pack I don't often get to use for my building style. And the kitchen I keep pretty simple. I don't put a whole lot of like clutter in the kitchen. I felt like maybe it would be too much. And so I made the kitchen mostly just to have it be functional as a kitchen. I put a little bit of clutter, but I didn't really go overboard. The rooms that have the most clutter are kind of ones that just like are the magic rooms. So the cauldron room has a lot more going on, as well as the library. I put a lot more like effort and clutter into, and I think that's probably it. The living room is the first room that I decorate, so I'm sure that that room also has a little bit more effort. But you could see I'm also placing toilets around to figure out like bathrooms. There is one room that I put a bath like a toilet in. Yeah, that one. That ends up being a nursery instead, because I was like, oh, that's like a pretty large room. I think I could squeeze in another bedroom up there, and I'll just make it a baby room. And I was really trying to not use the same wallpaper throughout the entire build. So I spent some time trying to pick out different ones for like each room. So the upstairs there is a like a good mix of different colors and patterns and stuff. It's like it took a lot for me to do that because normally I just like to use like the same thing all the way through. You can see down here, I'm kind of using the same three. So I have like the stone for some accent walls, and then like wood, and then this like white one with like the trim and stuff. That's usually what I go for, or I do like all wooden walls throughout. But I split up some of it with some like floral wallpaper, and I think just like the living room has a floral wallpaper, maybe the like music room as well, but upstairs is where I kind of used a whole bunch of different ones. And some of the rooms I really like, I feel like it looks very like whimsical and magical. Like there's one room that uses yellow accents with like green walls, which I never really do, but I like the green wall from the Crystal Creations kit or like stuff pack had spoken to me, and I was like, I'm gonna use this for this. And I realized that I really liked like the like blues and greens that I used, and then some of like the lighter rooms I didn't like as much, was which was surprising to me when I was like finished doing the build. I was like, wow, I wish I had used more of like that specific darker toned greens or blues, because I felt like it looked really cozy and looked a lot more magical and witchy than like this lighter floral paper. Like you'll see it in a second, I think, when I pick it out, because I believe it's that room that I end up with the green wallpaper. But maybe I'm, yeah, see, I used the same wallpaper twice, and I was like, oh, I think I want to use something different. And then I found this and I settled on the green, and that's one of my favorite rooms. It ends up having a cute little yellow mushroom. My second favorite room too is that blue room. It ends up being a nursery, and it's just like has a little baby thing and then a bookcase behind. It's very simple. The room is very small, so I don't have a lot of decorations in the upstairs, like I said way earlier in the video, because I mean, like, this video is already so long, but also I don't like putting way too much effort into bedrooms for family homes, because I know that when I would play with Sims families, I kind of like to personalize it to my Sims personality. And so I didn't want it to be like too extreme or like too many items in it. And like maybe people who download this, they don't have every pack. I didn't limit the packs in the inside at all. Like I was not really paying attention to that as much as I was with the exterior. So I'm sure I used probably like some packs probably only have like a few items here and there that I used throughout the builds. And I really like this living room nook area. It feels very cozy. And I was using different patterns for the cats and dogs. Curtains. Those are some of my go-to curtains, but normally I use it in like green or yellow or like the cream, but I really like that plaid color up there. It ties in like the red with the brick. And like there's even some red in the books and stuff. I don't know. I feel like it like really came together, and I did play test this part because I put that coffee table there and I was like, I don't know if a sim can walk through there. But I did pause literally while I was decorating this room and I made sure that a sim could walk through the coffee table. I can't promise that they won't get stuck randomly, because that's sometimes how the Sims works, but I know that your Sims could get over to the couch at least, which is what I was most concerned about, because it is like such a narrow walkway. So it's a little strange that the game let my sim go through there, but I do know that your Sims only need like half a tile to walk through something, and that I guess is half a tile, but it does not look it. And sometimes I feel like I leave enough space for my Sims to walk through, and then they can't. So that was a pleasant surprise that it actually worked. But I decided to like try and make like a custom like shelf area over here with the fireplace. I raised up a console table. um, I don't know if that fireplace works or if those items would catch on fire. The fireplace might not be functional. If it's not, I'm not going to change it or anything. If that bothers you, then you can like delete the that console table that is on top of the fireplace. But there are other fireplaces in the build. Like I had lit the one in the music room to get the chimney smoke in the beginning. So there is a fireplace at least that is functional if you want one. Usually I feel like in my gameplay I never actually light the fireplaces. Usually my Sims will do it, and they'll do it like in the middle of a heat wave and I'm like, why are you lighting the fireplace like this right now? And then I always get fires because I always place items too close to the fireplace. But that's another thing. I don't have any fire alarms in this build, but if you've watched my videos or downloaded my builds, I never put any of the fire stuff in my builds. And they're very, very flammable, so you got to be careful. Maybe add in the smoke detector and all that stuff. There's plenty of places to hide it in the builds, but I just don't put it in. Um, I'm sure there's a lot of other necessary items that I usually forget in my builds as well. Like, I don't think there's a trash can anywhere in the builds at all, outside or inside. So that's another thing that you probably have to add. But this is the cauldron room over here. And I was like thinking of my best collections collab build that I had uploaded where I had this really beautiful cauldron area with a lot of witchy decor and stuff. And that's kind of what I was thinking about when I was doing this. I was like, oh, I want another very warm space for the cauldron with a lot of wood and herbs around. And so that's what I was doing. And I love the, like, which, that plant I think might be from Laundry Day or Paranormal. I think it's Paranormal. Um, I love how those plants just look with the hanging herbs. I feel like they belong in the same pack together. I wish I remembered exactly which pack because those might be from actually two different packs, but who really knows? But yeah, I just put a bunch of little plants around. I put some more like planters here too. Mostly because when I would do gameplay with like gardening and stuff, it's very hard to garden in this game with seasons, and I always like wish I had a greenhouse, but I didn't build a greenhouse for this. So I've been putting more planters inside when I'm like building something that I think would be good for like family gameplay or just gameplay in general, which is another like I guess a good purpose for the towers that I've been doing in my last couple builds is just placing a bunch of planters up there, which I'm sure it would be easy to forget. Like if you're playing, I would probably guarantee that you'd probably forget to go up like 2 floors into the towers into the like garden area, and you probably forget to water your plants and stuff, and they probably all die, or at least that's what would happen to me, because if I have like multiple levels that I'm playing on, I'm gonna just forget completely that there's another level there if there's nothing else that's useful on those spots, and nothing else is useful in those towers. They're mostly storage areas. Some of them literally just have like clothes hanging up because like there's one that comes out of the main like parents' bedroom. And I was like, oh, maybe that's like a wardrobe closet area, which feels very strange. Just like a closet, like a tower that's your closet, which might be like a little inconvenient to have to go up and down like 2 ladders every day to get to all of your clothes, but maybe it's like an event for them. Like they love doing that or something. But I did show this bathroom downstairs being decorated. The upstairs bathrooms I didn't end up showing, but they look pretty much just like this. I used the same Realm of Magic toilet in literally every single bathroom. I love the vampires, shower and bathtub, and the get together sink. I'm sure I used some like vampire sinks upstairs. Maybe that's the only thing that's different. There's no window in the bathroom, but that was kind of like the only spot that I could think of like putting a bathroom in this build. And over here is like a half bath, and then I did a little closet over here that just has some towels in it because I didn't know what to put. And I was like, okay, that's just gonna be a closet, and I don't know what to put inside the closet besides some towels. So that's what I ended up doing. And over here is going to be the study room, which is, I guess, like where they keep all of their magical tomes, and they have just like herbs hanging around. Maybe they study the plants here or something like that. I really end up loving this room. They're really like, again, I forgot the desk in here because I was just like, I don't know, I was so focused on the plants in here. Like, I need a bunch of plants and I wanted to find the perfect couch. And so I was like, I found that long one, but it was like too big for the space. So I had to go and look for like a smaller brown love seat. And then I like break up some of the space after by putting like a console table in the middle of the room. It just like, it felt, I don't know, it like, how would I describe that? It just like made the room feel more full rather than like a long hallway because this room is very long, and I knew that like it wasn't really good for pictures or anything and I didn't really know how to fix it. And I was like, oh, you know what I never do? I never just put a console table in the middle of a room and then just like stack books around. And it gave like almost like a like antique bookstore vibe, but in the witch's house. Which, looking back at this room, I could have just put the desk here instead of this console table. But I don't know. I like this anyway. I could have even put the desk where all those herbs are hanging over in that little like nook area. That would have been a good spot for a desk too. But it just completely like I just completely forgot that that's the purpose of this room was an office because I was just so focused on. I'm like, oh yeah, I liked all the witchy clutter in the room right next to this room, so now I'm gonna do the same thing over here, and like this room doesn't really have a function because there really isn't much of a function besides all the bookcases, and you could like read on that couch over there, I guess, but I feel like your Sims probably wouldn't spend a lot of time in this room because there's bookcases everywhere else in this house. So I'd be surprised if your Sims just wandered into this room for literally any reason, which is like I guess I could also suggest that I had put a um like a chess table in one of the towers. If you want this room to actually have a purpose, if you're like playing with it, you could put a chess table in there and like get rid of one of those console tables, and then you could actually have a reason for your Sims to use the room because the room is really pretty, and I feel like it would be like a nice backdrop for pictures and stuff. So you could definitely like add some stuff, maybe even like an easel. I have one easel in this build. I like threw it on a small porch area that's like very hidden away. It's literally like a 3 tile porch, which is right off of this hallway where like if you could see it a little bit. There's a door that leads outside and that literally just has an easel on it. But this is the music room. I used this giant piano because I needed to fill in as much space as I could because this is a huge build and maybe a bathroom could have went over here, but we already have so many bathrooms in this house. It's really not necessary to have that many bathrooms, especially I think there's like no, there's 3 bathrooms that have a shower at least, which is like the important part, I think. And then like 2 other ones that don't have a shower and just a half bath. But I did another like formal like sitting area in here because I didn't really know what else to do with it. But I really like having the open door, even though it kind of messed around with the lighting a little bit in there. It kind of like threw me off a little bit. I had to adjust the lighting myself. And then this is where I was like, oh, perfect spot to throw in this desk I completely forgot about earlier because now it fits perfectly. And there's even more bookcases. So that other room, just being a library, feels like unimportant even more because there's so many bookcases in this build. I'm sure there's a bunch upstairs as well. And then just a little area to sit outside. I was going to put a dining table, but I'm pretty sure I put a dining table out like the kitchen way. So I was like, we don't need another dining room table in here. And the kitchen and dining room are kept very simple. I think that the 2 main rooms that I like cluttered a lot are finished, and now everything else is mostly just like the basics, and anything that helps to make it look a little bit nice without having to like spend too much time on it. Like I didn't put a bunch of shelves around and having to like raise up a bunch of clutter onto it. I kind of just worked with whatever surfaces were here. And so I like put some stuff on the counter and then I put a few things on the wall over here, and that is like feels realistic, I think. I wanted to use that vampires like book stand, but I feel like it was blocking too much. I guess I gotta put it in the dining room. The dining room, again, I put a bunch of plants in there, and I think that there's some more planters too. So if your sim is using all of these indoor gardening spots, they're gonna be walking around a lot, spending all day just getting from one side of the house to the other just to water all of their plants. So just be warned about that. Um, and I was doing the dining table, but I realized that I didn't want all the chairs to match because I was like, okay, I'm gonna have all the chairs match this time. But I didn't like how it looked, and so I deleted some and I just got a whole bunch of different chairs. They're all brown and they all kind of match together, but they're subtly different, is kind of what I was going for. And I used a big fancy bar in here. I was also going to put like potions on there. I was like, oh, this is like a potion area. And then I forgot to put any potions because I didn't have my debug filter on at the moment. Unless I did, because I see the seed packets. I'm sure I was just lazy at that point. I didn't want to have to go through because I knew how time consuming this entire interior was on me. And also for gameplay, like a gameplay house, if I put those potions, your Sims are going to be so annoying about having the potions around. I already know it. But yeah, I kept the dining room simple. There's just the bar, there's the dining table, and a bunch of plants, and just like some like china cabinets for like the fancy dishes, and that's it. And then I just filled in this hallway a little bit. I don't think I showed me decorating the hallway. I don't remember. And now we're upstairs, and these are all of the bedrooms, and this is the first kids' room of the builds. I end up changing that brick wall out because I felt like it looked a little bit too dark, and I didn't like how it was. Even when I add the lights in, I felt like it was just too much. And then watch me like not have switched it out. I'm pretty sure I do. Like, yeah, I changed it because I was like, all right, I don't really like it as much. Um, this is the first bedroom that I furnished, and it's also like my least favorite one that I furnished. I don't know what it is about this room that I don't like, but it feels a little empty and like there's definitely like a lack of effort on my part, which like I know I said I wanted to keep them simple, but I don't know, something about this room specifically I didn't like, which is a shame because I really love the wallpaper. I think the wallpaper is really pretty. Maybe I needed to like switch out the brick wall to like a wood panel wall for an accent instead. Maybe that would have helped me to like the room a little bit better. But I was just like, okay, let's accept that room for what it is and just move on. And this is was like when I was really starting to like the decorating. I think I liked the like tones of the colors in here a little bit better. It felt very like cozy and it felt more witchy. Maybe that's just because I used some realm of magic stuff and the paranormal curtains. And I know that there's that like little like infant thing which is a little out of place, but it's like a necessary item. And now I'm realizing I didn't put a single changing table in this build. I'm not sure if there's space for a changing table. Maybe there is in the infants bedroom because this is like a toddler and baby area. When we get to the like infants room, I'll see. I'm sure that there's probably space to squeeze in a changing table. And I know you need growing together for the changing table, I think, because they didn't give it to us in base game, which that's like I feel like what was my biggest complaint about growing together was that like they locked just like a random feature that should have been included in the infant update into a paid pack, which a little bit of a strange decision. There was a lot that was like locked behind a paywall for that, which is a little shocking because like you need to buy an entire expansion pack to unlock like different features for your infants, and without it the infants like feel kind of like empty, kind of like how the problem was with the babies in general. But moving on, this is the infants room, and I'm sure that you could probably get a changing table in here if you delete some of the items that I end up placing. It's definitely like a sad room. It's very tiny. It's also very the walls are so bright, and like even me like toning it down with the light, it's like thrown off a little bit. Also, my G shade does make like whites like a lot brighter, so that's also like a problem. It won't look as bright in actual game with it changed, but at least there's a big open window over there. Yeah, you could definitely just get rid of that castle and that chair. I'm pretty sure there's a dollhouse. Yeah, there's a dollhouse in the other room. You don't need that dollhouse. So if you want a changing table, you can just swap those items out. This is the parents' room. Again, it's this one is kept even more simple because this was like you could see like the cut between that. This I literally just recently did after I had edited my entire video. Which I was like, okay, this is gonna be like over an hour long video at this point. So let's just get in some items. And I liked the idea of having that natural wood like bench in here because I was looking at the flowers and the stained glass and the ivy hanging down the window, and I was like, oh, that would be so pretty. And I was like, it is outdoor retreat, and I think that's the only item I used from outdoor retreat. So I was like, oh, I'm like, whatever, I'm still gonna use it anyway. If you don't have outdoor retreat, there is a really pretty wooden bench in another pack. I don't know which pack it is though. I don't know if it's Realm of Magic or not, but there is another really beautiful bench that I probably wish I'd used other than that one anyway, because it is a lot cuter. But it's in the Ottoman section, I believe. So that's why I picked that one out instead of the other one. This is the other kid's bedroom. This one I like a little bit more. I like the greens in here and the different wood tones. I feel like it matches very well together. Very simple, just throwing some stuff around. You can see some of the bathrooms that I did without recording it. It's very simple bathrooms. Decorated just enough with like a little bit of clutter so that it doesn't look completely empty. It at least looks like maybe I put some effort into it. There's no like toilet paper in the bathrooms. If that's important to you, then you could go ahead and add some toilet paper to the bathrooms. That's something that I usually forget to put in myself. But yeah, this is like one of my favorite bedrooms up here. If I was like, not, if this wasn't already such a long video, I would have put way more like plants in here and maybe like a shelf above the bed with some more plants, stuff like that. But even just the mushroom stool next to the bed, I love that so much. I'm gonna start doing that in some of my builds. And like I'm trying to make a mental note to actually do that. Because I was like, why don't I ever use that cute mushroom like stool inside my builds? I'll like occasionally use it outside in like the garden, but I don't do it in the like inside. And so that's something that I'm gonna have to start using, and maybe it'll be like a reoccurring item that I always use in my builds. But now we're up to all of the towers, which is like where I was gonna leave them empty, but I figured I would give them some of them some purpose. So here's just a chess table because I feel like I always need a chess table when I'm doing gameplay, but I never remember to put one in. So there's a chess room, and this was that like closet tower I was talking about. It has like two floors. So this one has just a dresser, some books, and like a phone and a little stool. And then like the one below has a bunch of hanging clothes. More plants over here. So your Sims have to spend probably like 5 sim hours just to water all of your plants. But yeah, here are all the screenshots now. I really had a great time like building the shelf for this and trying to work out the floor plan. And it's like big builds take so much time and so much energy. But I'm like really happy to have been able to get another one done. And I'll hopefully get like some playlists up for like builds that have like multiple bedrooms in it so that I know how much more I should make. Probably not until I finish a lot of the other builds that I currently have. I'm not sure if I'll have a speed build next week. We'll have to see if I like can sit down and finish something that I have started, but we'll see. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Bye.